Backlash on social media, as there should be.
Which we like, bit of healthy
Exactly,
backlash.
and it was a good
That's
feedback.
how you learn.
So I was so pleased when Annabelle got in touch and said, "Are you the crazy historian that's been telling people about those tiles that were uncovered in our new shop?" And I was so happy when they said that they're actually going to make it a feature. So you can see that they cut a really big hole. If you actually look at the original photos, there's just this sort of set and one next to it. So I think it's a really nice solution and a really nice compromise to make sure that it's here, because so many times these things either get covered or they end up in a skip. All right, and every time when I see that a new shop is doing the refurbishment, I start sort of poking my big nose in, talk to the builders, try to figure out what's behind things, and if I do see that something is being uncovered, then we try and kind of see, can it be preserved, whether it's an old shop sign or an old feature like this. Now, I did try to date it, and I asked an architect friend who kind of understands about all these decorative tiles and so on. He puts it at around 130 years, right? So it's old, probably kind of late Victorian. And it's amazing that it's still here. So I'm just going to tell you a bit about the history of the building and the shop. Hopefully, most of you have a copy of my book, which Annabelle very kindly printed, so you can all have a free copy of, all right? This book has the history of all the shops on Church Street from about the 1860s. And you can see the evolution of the shops, how they morphed over time from confectioners and bookmakers and dressmakers to estate agents and cafes and gift shops and so on. But it's all cool because it's part of the evolution and a lot of change is always here. If I can just turn your attention to page 59. All right, I feel like back in school.
If anyone doesn't have a book, there's some on the table.
Yeah, I think there's a few copies left. If you don't grab a copy, get in touch, and I can hopefully let you know how you can print one. So the interesting thing about the history of those tiles and the history of this shop is that this building was originally not a shop. Okay, if you look at this building and the one next to it, and the one next to that one as well, this is a very old row of houses, and this was originally a residential. This was someone's lounge. Okay, and what happened by the mid-19th century, the village was growing, and in some cases they would just convert the ground floor of some of the residential houses into a shop. And the first listing that we have for a shop in this site is from the 1860s, when it was a chemist, believe it or not. And it's really fascinating when you start seeing just how this place changed hands. When I looked at the tiles, if you look at this timeline and you try to figure out, would this be something that a chemist would have? Maybe, but not likely. I think it's much more likely that it's the next owner that was Fancy Goods, that, selling quite sort of high quality household items for the very middle class population that was around. Maybe they wanted to decorate the shop and have these tiles as well, just as part of the interior. I don't know if there would be originally kind of tiles around the whole shop, or if this was just something at the entrance, almost as porch tiles. All right, so just something that maybe survived and other builders over time got rid of the rest of them. But it's really nice when you kind of see just the evolution from the chemist to the Fancy Goods. You then had a customer working here. You then had a harness maker. Okay, so all the harnesses for all the horses and all the carts and everything was probably manufactured here as well. A lot of these sites were not just shops, they were actually workshops and very small factories, sometimes just two people working in them. And I'm really glad to say that we actually have the great-grandson of the harness maker that was here. That where you can raise his hand. Oh, he's still here! Yay! So he came especially today to reclaim this shop.
Sorry, let's go back to harnesses.
Or just to say, can we introduce some more harnesses next to the empanadas?
We'll see what we can do.
Exactly. But it's really interesting to just kind of get the whole history of the place, and you can see that after it was a harness maker, it was a number of confectioners. Now, people complain today that maybe there's too many estate agents on Church Street or too many pizza restaurants. In the 1930s, there were 15 confectioners on Church Street. 15! Can you imagine the very angry letters to the different newspapers saying, I hope it's not another bloody confectioner opening on Church Street. So every generation probably complained about a lot of something that they thought was on the street. And you can see that it then evolved to a newsagent. That newsagent changed hands. It then became the American sweet shop that was here up until like 6 weeks ago or so. And now there's a new chapter in the history of this shop. And hopefully, you're going to be 2024 to 2068.
The lease is until 38, so we'll renew it. We'll renew it.
Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. But I was really glad to see that, first of all, this place wasn't left vacant for too long, as sometimes happen, but not often. But there's always the risk of planning issues, legal issues, family disputes, you name it. There's a lot of reasons why sometimes retail units end up vacant for way too long. And I think you're going to do extremely well, right? I mean, I've had a few and they're amazing. So look forward to popping in with my friends and family and remind people about what this place used to be. And I'm sure that people, as they walk in, the first thing they'll say is, "Oh my God, what is that?" So thank you all for coming. Hopefully you enjoyed the book. I'm going to stick around if you have any questions. Otherwise, enjoy the empanadas.
Yeah, start eating. Thank you.